Actually, there's another character. His name was This movie focused on some other characters. They're not main characters, but that kind of in it. They're featured in it. It involves a like a two two men. One is a it's like a he's like he likes to joke and play around in the movie. He likes to drink a lot. His name is Dandy or Danny or Dandy, and he is always with his friend, always drinking, always having a cocktail. They pretty much are in the whole stay within the bar in the film. And I actually got you can kind of see him in this book I got, this old Titanic book I have, and it features the scenes of Atlantic. This is the scene I was talking about earlier when officers getting ready to take him into a lifeboat, but he ends up saving this guy. This is the guy I was talking about. In the movie, his name is not Naughty or Naughty, and that's the one who's married to the lady who's expecting a child. Her name is Monica in the movie, and I used to get him mixed up with Dandy, who's the other character I'm just talking about right now. You can kind of see him in the crowd in this bar near the end. This is Dandy right here. I have my finger at right here. That's Dandy, and he's always the one who's drinking in the bar. I used to get them mixed up, as I said, as a kid, because of the mustache, the pencil mustache, which is these movies that I usually was into wearing. Movies that I kind of was into the pencil mustache. That's why I started. We have climbing gym. Having the pencil mustache. That's why I started. Go time. Here are 3 must-haves for spring from Best Buy. Or dyeing a pencil mustache myself. I kind of learned how to trim it myself between the pandemic, but Dandy is one of the characters in it as well. But he drinks, as I said. But then you have the officer. His name is Lanchester. That's the one. Lanchester is right where I have my finger. This is Lanchester, and he's kind of a hero in this movie too, as he is the one to tell Mr. Rue what the danger, even though most of the crewmen were keeping quiet about what was going on, which is the real case with the Titanic. And he's kind of as I say, hero as he saves a child at the end of the movie. Kind of spoiling if you've never seen the movie. But those are some of the main characters in the movie, and it has the captain featured in it too. And like I said, this is mostly a fictitious movie about the Titanic. It's not actually the Titanic, the actual real life Titanic they're portraying, but it's a fictitious ship that's loosely based on the Titanic. It strikes an iceberg, doomed to sinking. Women and children only being saved, and the band plays all the way to the very end of the music of the movie. And as I say, it's not the Titanic. The ship is called Atlantic, but come to find out after researching, as well as comprehending the movie, that I realized this wasn't really technically a Titanic film, but a shipwreck film, but it has Titanic elements. And come to find out, there was a ship called the Atlantic that was built by the same company, the White Star Line, that the same company that built the Titanic. Decades later, going back to the 1870s, it was a ship called the Atlantic. had an accident where it ran aground. I forget where it was. I think it was. I had to, I guess, maybe do further research on it, but the ship ran aground, and it had a very bad accident where a lot of people got killed. It was just as, I guess, much of a loss of life as the Titanic was. So people used to, I guess, when this film came out, people used to mention or recall that there was a ship called the Atlantic that it sank as well, and it was built by the sink as well. But mostly people, when they saw the film when it came out in the 20s, most people knew it was based off the story of the Titanic. Interesting enough that because it was so parallel to the story of the Titanic, the company that built the Titanic, White Star Line, that was still around in business at the time, said it was censored the film because of its connection with the Titanic, and said they wanted the story of the Titanic to be removed from from the public spotlight, because they felt so much burden and guilt for the accident, the tragedy that claimed the lives of many people, in the association of being, I guess, hubris and arrogance. And the film received a lot of criticism for that at the time, and it also was controversial with the how the film was to end. In this movie, it doesn't really show the ship sinking. It shows, well, the version I got, it shows what's been officially released is the ship sink from the interior, and it doesn't show the ship from the outside sinking as many Titanic films later would do. And but there is supposedly a deleted scene on YouTube that been really, like, people try to edit the deleted scene with the end of showing the ship sinking from the back, the stern. And this is it right here. And this was controversy about showing this scene because people thought especially survivors that were still living at the time of the disaster, it would remind them of the people that died on the Titanic. And this was kind of the case with A Night to Remember came out. Many survivors saw the A Night to Remember, and when the ship started, and a lot of the ship started sinking, a lot of the survivors, especially Vina Dean, one of the latest survivors to pass away, say it brought back bad memories of her father who died on the Titanic. So, but I think that's why the film isn't really, I guess, was really known about. It means more knowledge about it now, but at the time it wasn't, I guess, really notable film compared to other films that would come out later on. And but even though, as I said, this is a fictitious film about the Titanic. But at the time when I was watching this as a kid, I didn't realize this was a different shipwreck. And even though this is a fictitious film, some of the stuff that you portray is mostly accurate. It's mostly accurate. As I said, it shows a ship Shows a ship hitting the iceberg. I'm going to show that scene right now, this moment. Everything from the ship hitting the iceberg to the band playing the music. There's a lot of, though it shows a lot of people panicking, which that's not how it happened. Most in the actual Titanic, people were panicking, but towards the very end, but not from the whole time. You're very calm. So that's one of the few accuracies. But it does show a lot of the music that was played on the Titanic. But this, I'm not sure this is the exact music that was played, but they do play the Narrow My God to Thee and the hymn that was supposed to play at the very end. Now, some of the decor that they show doesn't resemble the Titanic. They do have like a grand staircase, but it's not like the actual Titanic. But again, as I said, this isn't an actual Titanic they're depicting. Another thing that always stood out to me was that they show a scene where they showed two men fighting. One was white and one was a black man. Now, this didn't really happen in the actual Titanic, but there was interested in the fact that there was a black family, mixed racial family that was on the Titanic. The name was Joseph LaRoche, and he was married to a white French lady and had two mixed kids. I'm not going to give. But nothing occurred like what was taking place in the movie, where people were they're being strangled or people are shot at because of their skin color. I think this also feeds into a lot of myths in Titanic lore about Black Americans in the Titanic, such as Jack Johnson, the famous boxer Jack Johnson, booked the passage on the Titanic based on a song called "The Titanic." The Titanic, and but people often get it confused and mixed up, and I was guilty of that too, of getting confused to think that it actually occurred that he was denied access on the Titanic, but that was just fictitious. That was just a folk song. It didn't occur. And then there was the Egyptian manservant of Benjamin Guggenheim. So he was the second black, technically the second black on the Titanic, along with Joseph Rhodes, mixed kids. So really it was 4 blacks. But at times the movie, I guess to some people, other reviews I heard, it can be dull at times, and there's a lot of, I guess, dry moments, and the humor may seem, I guess, out of date, out of style. Of course, this was made in 1929, but the sinking sequences do stand out. Do stand out, including the stand out as well. You can see the ship tilting over. And you got some scenes of the dining room flooding as well. Dining room flooding. And you got this scene right here of all the people getting together in the bar singing the hymn. Though this may not occur on the Titanic, it's said that most people were raging or panicking as the ship was sinking, not standing around singing the hymn. And this kind of reminisces of what you see later in the 1953 Titanic film, where people were standing on deck singing the hymn. So that set the stage for that. And for the most part, in this scene right here of the Marconi man still at his post towards the very end as the ship was flooding. Though this it kind of happened, but not like this, as they originally got out the Marconi room as it was starting to flood. But then they showed us in the silent film, Nine Eyes, that they stayed as a ship as the room was flooding. And it's a pretty decent movie. Again, being a history buff, I'm kind of into these types of movies. And this really marks a period when it was kind of a trend with a lot of these with movies that to feature a like a melodramatic, fictitious melodramatic movie, but featured like a Titanic segment or scene in it. This is also the case with a just 2 years before this movie came, there was a movie called East Side, West Side. East Side, West Side that has featured a scene, and I didn't know about this until recent years on the Titanic discussion board learning about this, and I found a clip of it in 2019. And it has a snippet of the ship sinking. Features a Titanic scene in that. If I pull it up. It's kind of blurry. And it kind of ends tragically as the wife, I think, loses her husband because of the women children policy, they're not able to get into the lifeboats. And I had no knowledge of this movie, and all the documentaries I've seen, that's never been featured. Kind of similar, reminiscent to James Cameron as they show stuff sliding off the deck. then a decade later, in 1937, you had another fictitious melodramatic film called History Was Made That Night, which features a scene, but still is different from the story of the Titanic, where instead of the ship sinking tragically, it hits an iceberg, but yet is able, unlike the Titanic, this ship is able to withhold the watertight compartments, where it is able to get help in time for the people to be rescued, making that ship more unsinkable than the Titanic. More unsinkable than the Titanic. I forget. It starred Charles Boyer, Jean Arthur. And I think some of the scene was recycled for a movie called History was it was recycled for a movie called One Step Beyond.
Whose lives are more important to them than any record. To lead you, Willie. Full stand. There is the British traffic now. Yes, brother. I over. Hard left, sir.
And those and that were some of the movies and movies that came were between this period between the 20s and 30s. Then you had Cavalcade, which also featured the Titanic scene in that. Though it didn't show the ship sink, it just shows two couples standing out on deck, and as they walk away, there's a they show the life ring. It identifies themselves as Titanic. And I think they played the hymn in the background, but they don't show the ship sink. Sink. I guess again for probably the same reason why for Atlantic they didn't show the sinking scenes, because I guess it just brings back bad feelings, especially for people who were kin to people or direct survivors who survived that tragedy. Bring back tormenting memories. And you wouldn't have the first Titanic film to come out to be directly about the Titanic. Wouldn't be until the outbreak of World War II when you had the Nazi propaganda film Titanic.
So right when I thought Mom would start taking it easy with her osteoporosis,
Titanic,
we moved to this cool new place.
which I mentioned this in one of my other videos, and if you want, feel free to look at that after watching this. Yes, but that was Atlantic, and Atlantic, and as I said, after the 40s, you wouldn't have the 1953 Titanic film, which I think borrowed some elements from that, with the near my God these scene and these scene, near my God these scene, but the 1958 Night to Remember would be the last Titanic British film to be made in Britain, which would be known for its historical be more historical accurate. And I think that's kind of all I had to say about this film. I think I mentioned most of the facts and details I know about it. And by the way, this film was also dubbed with German actors. It was common back then for another set of actors to do different dubs for different speaking, for different nationalities and different ethnicities who were seeing the film but couldn't interpret the language. So they had like different actors for each I guess language. I think in this case they did German. This kind of did that with Dracula too. They had like a Spanish version that came out. They had Spanish actors who it was the same movie, they did kind of change things around a little bit, but the same type of movie, but had different actors playing it. Probably so make it a little different though, but it was the same movie. But that was a thing, the thing back then, especially when Talkies came out.
Make it, ring girl, make it.
We have over 600
And,
worldwide. There's a lot on our plate. Way too many emails. But with Gemini and Gmail,
That's all I had to say about this film Atlantic. Another video by Chase Pound. Stay tuned for the next video. Feel free to comment on this video.